Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dennis Wilborn, the active trend trader. I want to welcome you to On the Radar live market updates. This is it is Thursday, the 11th of February. This will be our last on the market on the radar for this week. And again, tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time, we will be having our normal. Well, not our normal, our regular scheduled how to make money trading stocks and options. That's a market update. Also joining me on that is Dr. Steve Ferrara, and that's absolutely awesome. Let me ask you a question as we get started. How many of you are big fans of Mark Douglas? Mark Douglas, unfortunately, has passed away now, but he wrote Trading in the Zone, I think one of the classic trading psychology books of all times. And also, he and his partner and wife wrote the Discipline or Trader, which is also a great psychology book on trading, as a workbook that goes with it. And so, I recommend, suggest, hey, go check it out. I think it's a great book. So with no further ado, let's jump into today's session. We're going to be hitting the indexes. I'm going to be hitting 2 stocks. And then I promised you yesterday, as our trading tip, I was going to basically cover if you have, let's say, a bunch of shares hanging around in a company like, let's say, Wells Fargo. That you inherited from somebody, or just you basically work for Wells Fargo or a company, and you still have a few thousand, let's say you have a few thousand shares. Did you know that you can basically, you don't have to just sit there on those shares. You can turn those shares into a income generating machine. I'm going to talk a little bit about how you would do that. If you want any more information on how we do that, or some of the things that we do at Active Trend Trading, that you may find cool, please go ahead and look up the link tree link that's in my bio. I've got a couple of really great presentations, and of course, I would always like to invite you, hey, join the Active Trend Trading team. I'm a really great guy. No, I won't go into that. No, I've been doing this for 30 years, and we have been doing really, really well. And I just kind of keep it simple. What I want to do is offer people is help them learn how to trade a simple, rules-based mechanical system that has been tested and proven through the years and has been proven successful. So let's take a look at the S&P. The S&P, again, just meandered up slightly for the day, 63 cents worth. But as you can see, not a lot to write home about. We actually, yesterday's candlestick was not a hanging man. Today's candlestick is a hanging man at the end of a downtrend. It looks like the index is petering out and momentum is waning. Yes, it is waning. However, it hasn't taken a drop to the downside yet. It is still in a bullish direction. Moving averages pointing up and stacked pointing up. So that's what we've got going for S&P. Let's go over to the Qs. The Russell. Okay. The Russell, similar type situation. A smaller hanging man. Yesterday we had an outside day. Today we have an inside day. Price actions have pushed right up against that 1272. We do not have a break to the downside. TSI has not rolled over. We do have negative divergence, so we are no closer to being able to make a determination on what we want, how we want to trade, either the Nasdaq / the Qs or the Russell. Again, Nasdaq up $1.83 for today, or the Qs up $1.83 for today. Not a lot to write home about right now. We actually got into a trade with the autopilot leverage ETF system. We got into a trade on the, when the Qs were down here bouncing around here, and I'll cover that here shortly. IWM. What has IWM done for us lately? There we go. IWM. Also, okay, what do we have today? Lower high, lower low. However, price buyers came in right where we anticipate them at a level of support, which is defined by, let me get my pencil out and I will show you what it's defined by. Is basically, let me grab that, is right in here there is a gap. Now that whole gap constitutes a level of support. Price action pulled right down into the gap today, stopped, bounced. Also, convergence of clues or confluence of, in this case, I'd say it was a confluence rather than a convergence, is that the influence of the 8-day moving average was there, and also the influence of the 127.2 Fibonacci was also there. So, you know, I'm looking for a pullback on IWM down into the 100% move, which would be down at the 217 level. Looking to see will the moving average, or not actually moving average, the TSI actually roll over, and take a picture from the past. The last time it rolled over, what happened? It rolled over here, continued to push higher a little bit, and then once it got below this line here, which is the positive 42 level, that's when we finally got this nice little sell-off here. The sell-off did not push down to the 34 yet, but it was a larger sell-off than we've had since going back to October of last year. So that's what we've got with IWM. Again, no bearish trade, no bullish trade. We're just waiting for things to happen. Now, if we get up here and retest into these past highs and we get a reversal, then I'd be looking for the reversal on what? On the intraday chart. We get a reversal down to the downside, take out some of these new intraday swing lows. I would say, okay, that might give us an opportunity to do something to the downside with IWM until it does meet up with its what? Its next level of strong support. So that's what we got going with the indexes. Folks, not a whole lot to write home about. Price action's kind of meandering. Momentum is waning a bit. Is it prepping for a really, at this point, we can't really say it's prepping for a really huge move to the downside, although I would like to see a huge move to the downside. Let's pull that up a little bit. As you can see, on a weekly chart, yes, negative divergence, true. We know where the sellers have come in now on a weekly chart. This candlestick is not over yet. If we close below that, which fib is that? The 161 Fibonacci extension. If we close below that, we'll have a shooting star for the week, which we'll sit there and go, what are we going to do about that? So, hey, what that would be is a bearish reversal signal on a weekly chart. Oftentimes, the bearish signals on the weekly charts will have more influence than they are on the daily charts. That's the way I look at the signals. When you get them on the weekly charts, oftentimes you can link into a nice, a longer term swing trade, or even almost a trend following trade with those when you get the larger signals. The daily signals, of course, are really good for what I do. One of the things we like to do is just the swing trades, where we'll be in for multiple days to multiple weeks and try to pull the meat out of the middle of that swing move. So let's take a look at one of the stocks that I'm really pleased with that we put out last week, and it is doing really well for us. And this is part of our, this is part of the autopilot trading system, and this is the growth stocks. part of the growth stocks portfolio. And that's one of the things we send out every week on to our Autopilot Top 5 members. We send them out what I call a pre-flight checklist, because I'm an old naval aviator, and aviators like checklist. And so a pre-flight checklist, we sent this out. We sent it out here, did a slight correction to it as it was pulling back, and said, you know what, if we get down into this area, about the 102, 103 level, go ahead and get us in. We had a conditional order in. The prices were hit. We got into this trade at 103, and our upside target was up here at 111, these past highs. So we took off half the position at 111. We've got earnings coming up on right here, the day after, this is next Tuesday. So earnings coming up that day after the market. I'll close out the rest of the position, but we're up about 10% in how long? Not that long. And this is the way these work. I send out the alerts. I send out and then I show you exactly 3 things. I show you what price I'm going to get in, 2, my profit targets of where I'm going to get out. There's usually 2 of those. And then my stop loss. My stop loss in this particular trade was back down below these levels here, about $99. And so we got into the trade here and rode it back up. So it was about, I'm going to grab that low right there. Picked it off at 11. So up 7, it was up about 7 to 8%. And then later today, it got up to about 11+%. And I'm really pleased with that. For a pre-earnings run, that's excellent. I'll take that all day long. So that was PLMR. Again, that's an example of the autopilot trading growth stock portfolio. The one we did on, and this is the one we're really counting on some, we're counting on wealth growth. We're really focusing this year on growing wealth. Because if we can teach you, and very few swing trading timing services really focus on growing the wealth. They focus primarily on individual trades. Get a good trade here, a good trade. And while that's really exciting, the real excitement comes if you've developed a high level of wealth that you can then turn around where you don't have to trade anymore unless you want to, and your wealth basically takes care of you. And wouldn't that be a great deal? So again, I am focusing on developing wealth, and this was this is TQQ. This is the 3-time leverage ETF for the Nasdaq, for the Qs. That's it's real. And I sent out the alert on this one on the right in there on and that I think is when is that? That's on the 23rd. I sent that out that weekend of the 23rd. The 25th hits. And what I did is I said, basically, I want to buy some TQQQ if prices get back down to where? I put in there $92.75. And so I was expecting them to close the gap. So our members were sitting there with conditional orders in place. It was filled on, we waited for all week, all 5 days of the week. And on that Friday, the 29th, it was filled. Went down a little bit lower. And then from there, it started taking off. And so we targeted and took out a little bit of profits as it hit between 95 and 97, which is fine. But we're still riding the rest of this trade up now. So we were in here. And that's not going to give me an exact number, but I'm going to say, see if I can get that to give me. I can. All right. And so it is currently up 17+%. What I'm after is, again, just continuing to ride this on up because we're on a really nice tear to the upside. What we're doing now is I'm just trailing a stop, What we noticed in our back testing and our actual utilizing TQQ over the years, 2 to 3 times a year, it will have a run that is in excess of 50%. Well, if we can catch 2 of those 50% runs, then that compounds into how much? Over 100% per year. So that's what we're targeting. If we get a few entities and we have a corral of excellent leverage ETFs, we have a corral of excellent, really super top 5 growth stocks, that, if you're trading high quality things, you don't have to trade options. You don't have to, although we do offer that as a service, you just sit there and trade the stock, trade the ETF. And it's a great time to do that, a great time to learn it, because why? Well, one of the reasons is there's no commission on these days. And so, as we see, TQQ, I like it how it's doing to the upside. And so we'll end up with that. So again, now what are we waiting for? I'm waiting for a pullback into the moving averages. We'll build up the rest of this position. We have had a breakout. So TQQ, again, it looks like it may be on its move up to a 30 to 50% move on it. If autopilot trading is something you might be interested in learning more about, there is a video. You get it in the on the link tree in my bio on Instagram. I will put in on YouTube when I get this webinar, this basically video posted. I will put the link in there also. Excellent, like I said, excellent service. And it starts, we have a 75% discount on the beginning service, which is the autopilot top 5 growth stocks. And it comes out, so it saves 75%. It's like less than $20 a month. And you get 4, you get 4 updates with the new stocks that we're buying for the week, along with a video to explain exactly where the trigger points are for getting into the trades. So let's go to the last question I had was, okay, well, what happens if you have, and then we'll do this really quickly. One of the things that I was chatting with somebody this past week, and they had in excess of 2,000 shares of Wells Fargo. They had inherited this. And they were sitting there going, how can I make some money on this? So money on Wells Fargo. Because what they had done, basically, and I'll just give you an idea, they, and I've known this person for quite some time, they basically have ridden, they rode it all the way up and, more than doubled, and now they rode it all the way down, and they're going, dadgummit, I got to do something with this. And the reason, one of the things is they don't want to sell the stock because it has sentimental value. I get it. I understand that. But, and so they're basically going, well, I don't want the stocks to be taken away. I get that. I understand it. But wouldn't it be nice if you could set up something where you could be looking for where you could just generate some additional income? And so one of the things I wanted them to take a look at is, one, take a look at the weekly range on this. And the weekly range with the idea, what we're looking at doing is we're looking at basically doing, guess what? The oldest trade in the world, selling covered calls. What's the weekly range? Last week's weekly range was $3.51. The week before that, it was $2.71. The week before that, $1.89. And then with the advent of weekly options, we basically can look at making a, I didn't want to go that way. I wanted to go this way. Is that the weekly? Yeah. Is that the daily? Yeah. And so if I'll basically, get in where I can time it, where I can do an at to slightly in the money, when the TSI is starting to roll over or my momentum indicators are starting to roll over to sell calls against, it gives me an opportunity to hopefully sell 2 sets of calls going in for the week, or for not every week, but 2 sets of calls every month. And so as I looked at Wells Fargo has a 1.2% dividend. So, you know, that's nice. But if I could bump that up to where I was making, let's say 40 cents every time I sold a covered call on this, and I did it 2 times a month, that means I would be then generating an extra 2.4% on my Wells Fargo's holdings, because they're already paid for. I mean, you know, these have already been paid for. Your cost basis to get into the Wells Fargo, if you inherited these, is 0. That's your cost basis. So if I did generate 2.4% per month, that would equate to 32.9% return for the year. That's pretty impressive on a, you know, a little stock like Wells. And it would also generate by the end of the, well, it would basically generate where I'd be generating an extra, you know, $700 to $1,000 per month in, you know, I didn't have to reinvest it. I could just use that for cash flow. So that's one of the things I would be looking at. What I found as I popped over to the option section part, is if I went down here to the, and you're not going to be able to see the whole 9 yards on this. Now you know what I need to do. There we go. But a couple of days ago, like, it dropped 48 cents today. However, if I'll take a closer look, it actually dropped from the highs of yesterday. It dropped about $1. So the highs were about $33.50. So I could have bought the $33.50. I could have sold those yesterday for 67 cents. With the fall off on the market today, those same puts, or correction, those same calls are worth 30 cents. So that would be picking up 37 cents. And I could just, you know, just either let those cook off with the time decay, but pretty impressive given, you know, so 37, and I can do that 40 cents per week. I would roll out and do it, you know, after I've done the first one and take it, and then I would close the position when I had about 50% of the max gain, 50 to 60% of it. That would put me at about making 40 cents on it. And I would just basically wait for a couple of things. One, I would wait for, see these high spots? This is a daily chart, or correction, an intraday chart. There was a high here on the 29th. It did a nice pullback. How much of a pullback? A little bit over $1. And in each one of these other spots, yeah, you could have probably gotten into a trade on this, but the one today was definitely a downside move, and so today is the 11th that started yesterday, and this pullback here is how far? Let's go ahead and just grab it. And then I got to knock this recording off. So if I grab it there, and it dropped about 79 cents, and as you can see, if I had that conditional order in there where I sold it for 60 and then basically had a conditional order to buy it back at 20, the swing that would take place during the day would probably allow me to jump in and out of that trade fairly quickly, especially once it started to move. And so that's on a low price stock. But if I could add an extra, you know, 30% per year to my return, you know, that would be pretty good. And also, if I depending on how many shares I had, if I could generate an extra $500 to, you know, a couple $1,000s a month in extra cash flow and revenue, that would be pretty sweet also. So, hey, that's all we've got for today. I hope you found that helpful. If you are one of those people who are sitting there with stocks, you know, a bunch of shares of stocks, at least 100 shares. And the other things I want to be making sure is that it has weekly options, and that the price movement action does in fact put in patterns. And if those two things are in place, you can do pretty good with that particular strategy. So again, if you're joining us on YouTube for the first time, hit the bell, subscribe, leave a comment. If you want me to review a stock that you're interested in, you can always basically send me a note to say, hey, Dennis, take a look at blah. And we'll take a look at it. We'll see if it is one of your stock can be on the radar in one of our sessions. And so, again, we'll catch up with you again next Tuesday. Remember, Monday is a holiday. And so the markets, I think, they're closed. So aloha. God bless everybody.